Welcome to Zestful Aging, where I interview inspiring, fascinating women who are navigating aging with class and sass. I'm your host, Nicole Christina. Hey everyone, I am so grateful for all of the downloads, and I'd love a rating on iTunes and a comment. And please subscribe. It helps the show's rating so other people can find it and learn how to age well. And if you are loving the podcast, why not check out the companion online course, Zestful Aging, Simple and Sustainable Habits for Health and Longevity. You can access it through my website, NicoleChristina.com/Zestful Aging. It's based on the Harvard study of adult development, and I'm really proud of how it's turned out. Well, I've got my coffee in my hand and my trusty dog Sparky beside me, so let's begin. Today we have a special guest who is a departure from my usual inspiring woman. Instead, we have our first inspiring man. Stephen Loring is a documentary filmmaker and screenwriter and wrote for NBC, CBS, and Lifetime, and his recent documentary, The Age of Love, has been seen in 14 countries and won numerous awards. The film follows a speed dating event, the first of its kind, for 70 to 90-year-olds and takes place in upstate New York. And we get to know the participants before, during, and after the speed dating event. One of the most poignant parts of the film is where Loring is with seniors one-on-one as they open their feedback envelopes to find out who wants a second date with them. And Kevin Peterson of ChangingAging.org describes the film as transformational. This film humanizes aging in an unprecedented way. In addition to the film's charm and tenderness, there's an unusual bonus at the film screenings. Loring gives out speed dating kits so people can start these events in their own community. And as we know, loneliness is epidemic in our country and in the world. And this is his way to contribute to a solution to that. Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me today.
Well, it's my pleasure. It's always interesting to talk to different audiences about this project. And love is everywhere. Love is intergenerational, multi-generational, and so this is something I'm really committed to sharing.
That's obvious when I heard you talk on the panel. You're very animated and you do seem very committed to this. And I'm reading that people of all ages are resonating with the film and it's having a social impact. I saw that it was being screened at AARP and some other senior initiatives. And I'm wondering if you consider yourself a social activist.
Well, not really. I guess I would call myself more of a social anthropologist. I'm a researcher at heart. I've always been interested in finding out and listening and observing more than I am being up on stage. I began as a research chemist early in my career, and I was looking at the biology of the brain. And I've always kind of approached things from a research perspective, and the chance to talk to people about what's in their hearts and expose the emotional lives of a generation that we don't usually hear from in terms of emotions and deeper feelings was something that was important to me. I mean, we didn't talk about yet why I made the film, but I could just mention here that my dad passed away and my mom was in her early 70s, and she asked me one day, who's ever going to hug me again? Who's ever going to touch me? All my life I've been held. I've been a partner with a soulmate, and now all of a sudden, in one day, I'm just alone in the world. And that got the ball rolling in my head, I think. And I thought she can't be the only person in a world that is aging so quickly, and there's such a huge population, a demographic shift. She can't be the only person who's finding herself suddenly alone and questioning, who am I inside now? Who am I as an intimate emotional being from here on in? So that kind of
Mm-hmm.
got the research part of my brain going, and I thought I wanted to hear from more people, and if I could put a story together, that would be a really uh, great contribution to the research and to the thinking about life and aging and loneliness.
So, do you go about thinking, how can I make this interesting and entertaining and also meaningful? Are those the goals that you set out for yourself when you're making a film?
Well, for sure. First of all, I kind of came up with an overarching idea, which I wrote down and put up over my desk, which was, how does love change as we get older? Does it change? And if it does, how? Um, and then the question for any kind of a storyteller, a filmmaker, or any kind of a creative artist is how to give it shape. Um, there's a lot of different stories out there, but the goal is not just to tell a story that appeals to me, but to get audiences interested, to get the public also interested. And I knew that um, doing something with experts in lab coats and psychologists and people talking about the issue wasn't going to really have much of an effect on people, the same way that stories from the voices of people that are living this and struggling with the issues would have. So I spent months traveling the country and talking to groups at senior residential communities and trying to find a story that would uh, that would bring this topic to life. And eventually, I heard in Colorado Springs Senior Center they were having a speed dating event for 70 and older. And something in your mind of a filmmaker, I guess it just kind of clicks. You're looking for a hook for your movie, and suddenly you find something that speaks to you in a really bigger way. It isn't just about loneliness and age; it's about love. It's something that anybody could really relate to, and it's also funny in a lot of ways. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, people were hysterical when I told them there's going to be a speed dating event for people in their 70s and 80s. They said, I would see that. Of course, I'd go see that. My
Mm-hmm.
grandmother going speed dating. So, that gave me a hook into a deeper topic. I knew my underlying topic was uh, the true emotional reality of aging, of intimacy, of loneliness. But the story, the overlying narrative story of the speed dating event gave it a structure and a way in so people would come and see it and want to be, they would come for the candy and stay for the nutrition.
Well, it's clear that you care deeply about this subject. It's affected you when your dad died and seeing your mom alone. And I'm wondering how it is for you when people kind of, might chuckle or might sneer about a speed dating event for people who could be their grandparents' age. How do you deal with that?
Well, it's fine because that's the reflection of our society. I mean, I didn't come into it thinking people would take the high road and look at this as a super serious topic. It is funny. I mean, we don't see older people searching for love on a daily basis. I mean, the message that we get from our media has always been older people are not growing, they're dependent now. They've reached a different point in life, and the messages are about financial services and digestive aids and social security. It's not about emotional growth. So, there's no question that people would snicker at it. And in some ways, that was fine, as I said before, because that means they're interested. They're thinking it's a funny idea. And their inner sense of story thinks like, I go see that because I'm curious, what would it look like to get older and to be looking for love. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very reflective. I think the one of your guests, Ashton Applewhite, I went to one of her talks once, and she mentioned something that affected me that kind of got me on this track very strongly. She said that uh, each stage of life has kind of a specific definition that when we're in our teens, we're learning, we're growing intellectually, we're finding our path in life. In our 20s, we're finding love, we're connecting with other people, we're putting our feelers out into the wider world. In our 30s, we're starting families, we're getting going on our career. In our 40s or 50s, we're building family, where our careers are blossoming, we're producing a lot of things for the world. And she said 60, 65 and older doesn't have a definition like that anymore. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of the land of old, I think she called it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the default is there's nothing going on there. We're not doing much, and we're kind of just
And
losing.
we feel
We're not gaining.
invisible at the, yeah, right.
Yeah, so this was, very much my contribution to, I knew when I went into it, I wanted to hear the voices of people. That was my goal, is to get people talking about their inner lives, because I knew it wasn't what the society and the media tell us. There was something much more, what we would call youthful. I mean, we don't change inside the way we do outside. And I don't think there's anyone involved in the film who didn't say to me at some point, inside I'm still 25, inside I'm still
Mm-hmm.
30. So that was the message I was trying to bring out.
How did the experience of making the film and getting to know these people change your view on your own aging?
Well, I guess I didn't know what to expect when I went into it. I again was looking for guides into a world I really didn't know much about. And I learned that there is a lot of loneliness that comes with watching the things you've built in your life, your family, your career, the things that defined you disappear. And we're more uh, at the mercy of other people at some point in our life. A lot of older people stereotype themselves into being, well, must be beyond that because that's what the world tells me. I have no options. Uh, there aren't any places to go to find new companions. There aren't a lot of opportunities left. And I guess I realized little by little that it's important for me to create my own older age. It's not going to happen just by chance, or just because I leave it up to the medical professions or the social work professions. In my own life, my grandparents, I had four grandparents that all lived within a mile of me growing up. And when they got old, my parents took care of them in the house for their entire lives. Three of them died in their mid 90s, and they all were able to stay in their house with their family, being cared for.
Wow.
My mom now is the last in her generation, and she's kind of alone. She has me and my sister who are always there for her and who visit and take care of things for her, but she doesn't have that sense of like family in the neighborhood that's going to do, to keep her living her regular life as long as she's alive. And then for me, I don't even have children. I mean, I'm not married and I don't have children. I don't really have any safety net at all. In those two generations, it's gone from, a family that takes care of each other to a person who's just kind of has to invent his own aging picture. And I realize I have to create community. I have to look out for myself. I can't, wait to get old and not have anybody around. I need to think about community, and need to think about connection, and I need to think about how I'm going to continue to grow and take responsibility for that now, I think, when I'm younger.
Mm-hmm.
and not wait and hope that there's an answer that somebody else provides when I'm alone and I can't do that for myself anymore.
Yeah. Do you do things like, do you have sort of routines and habits, healthy kind of habits that you do in terms of like investing in your own longevity?
Well, certainly I exercise and I eat right. I mean, I do all the smart things that I can to try to keep as healthy and youthful as possible. And I probably could do more in finding connection, social connection. Um, it's not something that I think about enough probably in my life, but I know that I have to be strong, I have to be healthy, and I have to
Mm-hmm.
take responsibility for that. My mom, I should say, when she was taking care of her mother, realized that carrying her from the bedroom to the bathroom to bathe was becoming a stress on her back and her arms. And so she went to the gym and got a personal trainer.
Oh, wow.
And to this day now in her 80s, she still goes 3 times a week and works out. So she's kind of an inspiration to me that that's a responsibility you have to yourself to make sure that you have the strength
Mm-hmm.
to live the life that you intend to live.
How has the film and the whole process affected your mom?
Oh, she loves it. My dad's death was the worst thing that could have happened in her life. It upended everything she was expecting and looking forward to and how she defined herself.
Mm-hmm.
But having the that inspire this film and seeing it go out into the world and through the not just the screenings but the speed dating events we're setting up lead to dozens, if not hundreds, of new relationships, and even a couple of weddings so far that I know about that have come from people who walked into the film. Seeing that makes her feel that that love that she shared with my dad very much is very much alive still and is still
Mm-hmm.
affecting the world. And she loves to come to screenings with me, and she's always hugely supportive of this. It's kind of a legacy, I guess, of the love that she had. If it wasn't for that love, the film never would have been made. So she's a pretty integral part of it all.
Wow, yeah, that's so interesting. I am wondering if it's typical for filmmakers to have such a fondness for their subject matter and for the people in the film. You talked a little bit about at the screening, really feeling love for some of these people and being in touch with them. Is that a typical experience for film? Even, even documentary filmmakers?
Well, probably every experience is different depending on what sort of information you're getting and what sort of relationships you're looking for. I mean, I didn't know what I was going to get when I came up with this idea. And frankly, I thought I probably would get very little because my own assumptions about older people were that this is something they'd be embarrassed about. It was a real speed dating event. They really signed up without any knowledge that there could be a film made about it. And I got the list of people who had signed up, and the organizer said, you have to go out and get permission from all of these 30 people before you're able to film. I had to get a filming release. And I thought at that point, well, it's a the idea is not going to happen because the people are probably embarrassed to admit that they're
Mm-hmm.
going out looking. I mean, this is my own assumption. This is my own probably ageist assumption about it. That they probably haven't told their friends. They probably haven't told their children that they're out looking for new love. It's a very fraught topic. And I thought, well, let me just take a shot at it. And I started calling around and trying to explain to people that I'm not looking to make fun of them. I'm not looking to exploit them in some way, but I'm looking for guides into a world, an emotional world that I don't really know anything about. And the first woman immediately cut me off in my talk, and she said, "Look," she said, "I'm 74 years old, and even my own children never ask me what's in my heart, what's in my, what I feel about loneliness or love or anything like that. They just do all the normal things, and I would love to
Mm-hmm.
talk to you about what's in my heart." And she really stunned me. I called then over the next 3 days, all 30 people with kind of a renewed vigor. And on that first call, all 30 people said, yes, we're invisible in the world. Nobody looks at us.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cares about what we're feeling unless we're a medical case or something. And
Mm-hmm.
why shouldn't we, we have a voice and we want to be heard. And so that at that point, I mean, when you're making a documentary, you don't have a script and you don't have a story really, you just have an idea. And I knew that at that moment that it was going to be worth it because I had
Mm-hmm.
tapped into something that was a story that had not been told, which is very rare. And I had people who were so excited to be a part of it. So I think that began the relationships right there. I was so thankful that I could walk in as a stranger
Mm-hmm.
into people's kitchens and they would open up so completely. As you can see in the movie, people did not hold back
Mm-hmm.
on the things they told me. And just as a sidelight to that, when we had the premiere of the film, and all of the speed daters were invited to come and see it with their families and friends. A lot of children and grandchildren and relatives of the speed daters came up to me afterwards and said, "Do you have any other footage of my mom or my dad or my grandma?" She said, "I've never heard any of this before, and maybe I could look at some of the footage and learn a little
Oh,
bit more about
wow.
her and her life." And it just pointed out to me that there's such a need to talk about these issues that isn't happening now. And so, that gave me a feeling of like really connecting with these people. And
Mm-hmm.
I was thankful and I did create friendships with them as we went and, gave them a sense of importance, gave them a feeling of once again being the focus of people's interest and attention and support and care. And that was valuable to them and they rewarded me. So the relationships did grow.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of some of the skills that one learns as a therapist. I mean, you were really there to listen and understand. And that sounds like it was so they were craving that. And
Yes.
I don't know the world of documentary filmmaking, but it seems to me that that would be a pretty unusual, um, experience that you would actually improve the lives of the subjects of your documentary.
Well, it was a research project. It wasn't I wasn't attacking or investigating anybody. So, it was kind of interesting to me though that they actually brought me into the film. I wasn't expecting to appear or even hear my voice in the film, but so much of what people said, you could tell they were saying it to me as an individual, not just as an interview
Mm-hmm.
question. And so I did have to eventually find bits and pieces of myself that were left in the final film because uh, that's how they were being empowered by that relationship that I had with them. And you mentioned earlier the scenes where they're opening up their
Mm-hmm.
envelopes uh, and finding out what matches they got. And to me, that was the emotional heart of the film
Mm-hmm.
because I could tell that they were um, they were letting me know personally. I was just sitting there. I was filming. I was doing sound. There was no crew. It was just me and them and the envelope with their results on the
Mm-hmm.
table. And each one of them was experiencing something that they were almost like teenagers again. Like
Mm-hmm.
their emotions were so uh, on edge. Like, will I be rewarded? Will I be rejected?
Mm-hmm.
Will people love me or not
What a
love me? Will they select
what a
me?
private moment.
Yeah, yeah. And and to allow me to witness that and to film it was a great gift too. So just another reason that I created such, I think, important relationships on both sides. You know, they trusted me, and I was thankful to them very much to present them as complete human beings in the final film.
One scene stands out in my mind, and I commented on it at the screening. But when the woman opened and I don't remember her name, but she opened her envelope, and there were two people, and she
Mhm.
interpreted that as such deep rejection and was weeping. I mean, it was just heartbreaking moment.
Right, and someone said, I think, at the Q&A that that just shows that people don't change all that much, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it's true. The way that they responded was, I've screened the film for high school audiences, and people are 16-year-olds are going, God, I know exactly what she's feeling, which is
Exactly.
kind of
Oh, of
amazing to me.
course.
People not only don't change that much, but to hear an 80-year-old express such sadness at not getting the love connection that she was hoping for.
Mm-hmm.
And it speaks over generations, which is, I think, one of the most exciting things I've discovered on the film is it's not just for empowering older people to go out and correct the loneliness, but it's for younger people to really start to have empathy for
Mm-hmm.
what doesn't change in our hearts, and that you can't judge a person by the wrinkles on their skin or the color of their hair. We're still the same human being as long as
Mm-hmm.
we're alive.
When you were interviewing these folks, did you get a sense that the men and women were hoping for different things or they had different expectations going into this event?
Um, Not really. I think not really underneath it all, not really. Men and women, I think, approach the event in different ways. I mean, you can't judge, you can't generalize. Older people are all different. Every single one, as Ashton also says, when you've seen one 80-year-old, you've seen one 80-year-old. And I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, men, I think, came to the event with more of what would you call it, like a masculine uh, patina. They kind of had an attitude. They kind of had their lines set up. They were ready to brag about themselves a little bit more to get attention. Women, I think, were more, uh, emotionally open. They were they're doing more of the listening. A lot of the women said the men didn't. They just talked the whole 5 minutes and didn't ask me anything at all. That's probably a social, uh, you know, just something that our society kind of tries to get. Especially in that generation, men have to be stronger and tougher and less emotional, and women can be more, have more emotion and feeling and desire to connect and such. But I think underneath it all, in private, the women and the men all expressed that I have so much inside of me still to give and nobody to give it to.
Mm-hmm.
I have so much time in my life that I spend alone that I don't want to spend alone. There really was a common thread among the men and women who attended that uh, something in their life was missing, and they weren't ready just to give up and accept that.
Mm-hmm. What's the future plan for the film?
Well, it's kind of making its own life in the world. I'm just watching it grow. I had no idea what would become of it when I first made it, and I went to a lot of festivals. I was in a lot of festivals, but a lot of festivals said, well, they're all 80-year-olds. Like how many 80-year-olds go to the movies? And I would say, well, that's not the point of the film. The film isn't just for older people. It's for uh, it's about love. It's not a story about aging.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I found is it's gone out in the world is that it's been taken up by a lot of different generations, different groups, educational organizations, universities certainly, healthy aging groups, even a lot of baby boomer groups have seen it as a way to encourage conversations with their parents, to kind of consider where they're going in life. They today the average lifespan is up to in their 80s, and somebody in their 50s might have a lot of years ahead, and they might have to face being alone. And we really haven't thought about that before in a real productive way. We assume we'll be taken care of, but I think it's just started a lot of conversations and a lot of interest among so many different groups that I'm just watching it spread around the world. I mean, I recently came back from Brazil, where we had 11 screenings to all different sorts of public and educational groups. I was in Moscow and St. Petersburg. It's been in New Zealand. It just seems that there's like a minority, an overarching minority that cuts across societies and cultures and gender identities. Being old is a time of really having to fight a lot of new fights in life against loneliness, against being stereotyped. And everywhere the film goes, it seems to inspire people to look at that really in a way that's not just the old way, but in a new way. So I'm following along with that, and just taking it where it goes. And hopefully the speed dating events will start growing with groups that aren't affiliated with the film itself, and they'll take on a life of its own, and policy will change, and organizations will start being more supportive of the lives of older adults.
Mm-hmm. Are you working on any new projects, or are you still pretty wrapped up in what's happening with Age of Love?
I'm pretty wrapped up in it still. There's always new ideas that pop into my head. I've looking at some of the neurochemistry of connection and love is a topic that kind of takes me back to my early days as a research chemist, and that's something I've been looking at. And also the idea of aging and creativity is really interesting to me. How do we tell stories as we get older? How do we create art as we get older that's different than it was when we were younger? So those are some ideas that I'm mulling around, and I'm doing some basic research on, but nothing is being filmed yet.
I saw that you had Pepper Schwartz as one of the people who endorsed the film, and she's pretty well known for her research in love and the whole question of, what makes people fall in love, which we still don't really fully understand.
Yeah, she's very much a pioneer in that. She's AARP's ambassador for relationships and love. So she came on board really early with the film, and that's been a really an interesting relationship. There's a lot of people in society looking at aging from a lot of different ways. So that to be accepted in some of those organizations and be supported by them has been a really great boon for the film.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Where would you like to send people? What's the best link for them to find out where they can see the film?
Well, right now we're doing community screenings and educational screenings, and the film is not available on Netflix or Amazon yet, but it will be probably in maybe next year or shortly thereafter. But the website for the film is theageoflovemovie.com, and there's all sorts of information on the themes and story, on the speed daters themselves, as well as a list of where screenings are coming up, and we add new ones every week. So stop back and see if there's one in your community. And also, if your community is interested in having a screening and sponsoring, hosting a screening, there's a way on the website where people can sign up and get us the basic information, and I'll give them a call and push ahead so they can have a screening and hopefully a speed dating event in their communities and get things rolling.
So I will put that all in the notes so people can reference that. And I so appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. It's just been such an interesting process for me after seeing the film and then speaking with you and learning more about the whole, the whole life of this film. It's been a real pleasure, and I appreciate you speaking with me.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been very, very fun, and I look forward to hearing this online.
Okay. Thanks so much, Stephen.
Take care.
Thank you so much for joining us on Zestful Aging. Please subscribe, comment, and rate me on iTunes. I love those 5 stars. Like and share. Those actions help other people find the show. And I love to hear from my listeners. Send me an email at NicoleChristina.com and tell me what you'd like to hear more about. Want more zest? Head over to NicoleChristina.com/Zestful Aging, no spaces, where you can find my companion online course, Zestful Aging, Simple and Sustainable Habits for Health and Longevity. See you next time for another episode of Zestful Aging.